It's Christina Herrick. I'm with Landscape Management Magazine, and I'm here today with Matt White, CEO and owner of Caretaker Landscape and Tree Management in Gilbert, Arizona, and Mark Wardley, COO and president of Caretaker Landscape and Tree Management. And we're here today to talk about the LM150 list. So thank you both for joining me.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Christina.
So Caretaker Landscape and Tree Management ranked number 85 on our LM150 list this year. And I wanted to talk to you today specifically about keys to success. So Matt, if you'd like to start, do you want to offer your 5 keys to success for businesses?
Yeah, happy to do it. First of all, I think it's different for everybody, and I think it's different at different stages of your company. So I'll sort of go through what I thought may be our most 5 key things that have gotten us to where we are over the last 30 years. I think the first thing is probably finding and hiring the right people, empowering them, and then treating them like family. You got to keep these people happy and do what you can to keep people on the team. I'd say the second is probably stay focused. There's so many different things you could go try to do. There's a book called Good to Great that Jim Collins wrote around the hedgehog concept. And it's really about staying focused and being the best. The third thing I would say is having integrity at every level and at every interaction. That flows all the way down. It got to start at the top, and integrity flows down. And I think that's critically important. Honesty in a company is very important. I would say the fourth thing is to be passionate. And I think education builds passion, especially in this industry where there's not a ton of education. There is a lot of education out there, but not a lot of people are getting into it. And I think the more you get people into it, the more passionate they become, and the prouder they become in what they do and what we do as an industry. And 5, just being accountable and helping your people be accountable, whether it's through metrics or whatever. We've got to be accountable. I had 2 sort of bonus things because they've come up recently with some other businesses I'm involved with, and that's find time to work on your business and not just in your business. And the second would be invest in technology. We've done that here, and it's been largely successful. I think we started doing it when Mark sort of came on board in a much bigger way. We've always had some technology, but we've invested a ton in that over the last 5 years, and it's really been incredible. So that would be my 5 plus 2 bonus.
You know, when you talk about working on the business, not in the business, you know, I feel like I hear that a lot. I don't want to say it's a cliche, but it's a common thing that's tossed around. So, but what do you mean by that? And what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, at some point in the life cycle of a company, as an owner or president, you've got to do almost everything. Whether it's you're doing accounting, you're doing AR, you're doing payroll, you're getting out in the field doing quality control, you're doing training, you're doing all of these things, and you sort of have to, or the company won't run. And so, one, creating some time when it's like that, so that you can start working on the business, thinking about strategy and planning and those kinds of things. Help you get out from doing, the day-to-day everything of the business. And if you don't invest both time and money to get you out of that just constant rigor of running a business, you'll never get the time to start planning and start, making strategic steps to get to the next step, right? Whether you go from 1 to 2.5 to 2.5 to 5 to 8 to 14 to 22, those all take different steps along the way. And if you don't spend time figuring out what those are, you'll never get out from working in the business. You'll always be working in the business.
Well, thank you, Matt, for sharing again. And Mark, I'd love to hear from you. What about your top 5 keys to success?
Yeah, thank you, Christina. I mean, the big thing is, teamwork. You're only as good as the, team that you've got working on things, and constantly refocusing them back on, the customer, and we're all here because of our customers, and, that's something that it's very easy for the teams to get wrapped up in, especially the support teams, so, I'm constantly bringing the teams back and saying, the accounting group, the HR group. We're really just servicing the frontline employees that are out there meeting our customers each day. And that teamwork and supporting them and removing obstacles from them is really key to what we need to do. And with that, comes the success. And if you do a good job on that, you'll naturally grow, and you'll get rewarded by your customers for that. The second thing, I always tried to instill in my team, treat the company like it's your own. You'll make constant decisions through the day, through the week. And, I always try to bring people back to, if it was your money, what would you do? Right? Because, as the organizations grow, you have to empower and rely on your teams and, all the folks below them to make good decisions day in, day out. It's impossible to be at the top and making every decision. You've got to push that empowerment down into the organization, and people enjoy being empowered. So I would say that's probably the second thing. I often bring my employees back and say, are you focusing on things that really move the needle in your day to day? As Matt pointed out earlier, it's very easy to get dragged into the business, and the business is running you. So it's super important to have enough time during the day, and I sometimes tell my team, if you can't just shut the door or sit back in your chair and not do anything but think for half an hour in the middle of the day, then you're probably allowing the business to run you. And that's a big deal, focusing on those things that really, truly are important and truly move the needle. And with that, it kind of brings me to the next point. It's leadership's job, and myself and Matt, we are constantly trying to remove obstacles from our teams so that they can become more strategic, right? So whatever's, sucking their time away, how can we help them, allow them to be more focused on the things that really matter? So, that's a big, job for us to try and understand, what those things are. And, the forest from the trees conversation is a big deal. The closer you're at to the problem, it's often harder to see what's really going on. So, certainly trying to take a 50,000-foot approach and say, are we moving in the right direction, and helping get people refocus on what's strategic is super important. And then certainly technology around, measuring stuff and KPIs. One of my mentors said to me, hey, if you're not keeping score, then you're practicing. And that's a pretty good analogy. You can be working really hard all day and somebody goes, well, did you do a good job today? Well, I don't really know, So, the more you can use technology to, help get those KPIs in place so people can see if they did a good job or if they did a bad job, or how can we learn from those decisions? That's super important. And with that technology, a lot of it is based, I'm an ops guy, so my background has been very much kind of lean methodology, Six Sigma, stuff like that. But constantly bringing people back to, how can we remove any non-value added activity out of your organization? So, if you constantly ask yourself, would the customer want to pay for what I'm doing today? And if you're pushing paper around in your organization, or you're taking a long time to do repetitive tasks, the answer is probably no. So, when you start to focus on removing that non-value added activities, then, essentially you're adding more value into what your customers are likely to want to pay for. So I think that's 5. So I know a couple of them rolled into each other, but yeah, that's my 2 cents worth.
I think that's a good point, though. You know, that it's easy to look at either, you know, indicators of success or measures of success as their own individual element, but your answer kind of shows that a lot of those blend together, and one leads into the other, or one feeds into the other, or they all kind of make up a broader approach to companies in general. So I think that was a good answer. And there were a couple things in there that I relate to directly. So I appreciate you sharing.
Well, thank you. And I think, you know, as Matt pointed out, at different stages of the growth of a business, you know, often you have to go back and revisit, you know, processes that worked at 5 million or 10 million don't necessarily work at 25 or 50 or 100. And that is, you know, something that is incredibly important, that when you're coaching your teams to solve problems, you don't want to ever have to go back and solve the same problem at the same level. And what I mean by that is, you know, we focus a lot on you know, the control aspects of problem solving. So I don't want to have to go back and solve the same thing again in 6 months' time because we didn't do it properly the first time. So if we can get those control measures in place to make sure that those processes don't slip back. And I think we've all been in places where, boy, this has happened before, and why are we doing the same thing that we did 6 months ago? Because something came up, you know, that we should have learned by that mistake or that issue. So, you know, if you're going to focus on an issue, focus on it, drive it and drive it and drive it until it's solved, and then make sure you put that control step in at the very end to make sure you don't have to go back and do it again.
Well, thanks again to Matt White and Mark Wardley of Caretaker Landscape and Tree Management, number 85 on our 2021 LM150 list, for talking to me today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. Be safe out there.